Good morning, Ma.
Good morning, everyone. Love you all.
Love you
On
too.
this lovely, lovely Sunday morning.
It's a gorgeous Sunday morning. We've had a little bit of rain, a little bit of sunshine, and a lot of inner conversations, I think. And that's why I'm so very, not only intrigued, but really looking, Ma, for how you're going to guide us and give us the milestones or the little ingredients or the aspects that we should look out for when we are connecting to our inner voice. And this is really interesting that you say that be conscious of the inner voice. So is it sometimes that we ignore our inner voice or silence it with our own mental critical chatter, or is the inner voice always good? Is it bad? Like, there are so many questions. So where should we start?
We can start with you, the inner voice. I remember you were a very little girl, and then, we were vegetarian, and your daddy wanted to feed you some chicken and some onions and some garlic. And they, told you that you can just, your mom is trying to control you and you should just eat this and all. And you came back and you told me, but my inner voice told me, something inside me told me I should not eat it. Oh. And I love you, Mommy, even if they're saying and they're trying to teach me that I should tell you I hate you, but I truly love you.
Oh,
so
wow.
That was I'm just going back to that point that
Yes,
you did learn to listen to your inner voice. The inner voice is always speaking the truth, and it's helping you to cultivate that spiritual essential nectar that is coming from the impulse of the universe around us. It's coming from the impulse that's in the aura of our parents, and the impulse of conscious and unconscious thought in the universe that we are picking up constantly. But the reality is that inner self is always trying to guide, always trying to comfort, always trying to activate, to move you away from the fear, the anger, the frustration, and the helplessness. Because when you listen to your inner voice, it's always very calming. It's always connecting you to the universe of unconditional love and compassion, and inherently cultivating in you that portal of oneness where you're not separated from the divine. Because remember, that voice of truth is coming from that Sat Chit Anand, to associate with the truth, to be conscious of what's happening around you and what is the truth. And finally, that you're always happy and blissful, and knowing that, you're following your instinct, and your own travel is very important compared to the travel of other souls that are traveling with you. Of course, as a child, Divya didn't know that her parents were vegetarian and whether she wanted to be. Do you really still want to be vegetarian, Divya?
Yes, I do want to be vegetarian.
Good. Because that time she was fully convinced that she didn't want, even though Dadi would every day tempt her with different, chicken products.
Yes, I think that now I'll have to really listen to my inner voice and see if can the truth change? Because
Yes,
I was thinking that when I 6 or 7 years ago, there was a deep inner voice that said that I wanted to eat egg.
Yeah, because there was that lot of conditioning that all the protein comes from it.
Yes.
But you ate it for a while and
then
you stopped.
then my inner voice said that I don't need to eat it anymore.
Yeah.
So my inner voice is very...
Yeah, you should just listen, because maybe at that time your body needed that protein.
Mm-hmm.
And you had association with those many souls that had to lay the eggs for you. And your name was written on it, so you had to eat
them. And then it just moves into a different consciousness.
Yeah.
So should we always be spontaneous? Is spontaneity and our inner voice connected, or no? Sometimes spontaneous can be passionate.
It can be immense passion. It can be delusional. It can be that you are thinking it's your inner voice, but it's just the demons of rage and anger and frustration and helplessness that are just making you reactive, and you're thinking, this is my inner voice, and let me go and attack. That's not the inner voice. The inner voice always leads you to a space of immense calmness, and it's always centered in a state of not having conversations that are unnecessary. And it's a little voice that speaks from the silence. And that solitude and silence is very deep in the chambers of our heart and our third eye chakra, and that's where they resonate from. So you have to be very, very careful with who you are interacting with and how and why.
Okay. And so it is always, so that's a great tell or a great symptom of the inner voice and our receiving of that information, that the inner voice, the true inner voice that we have to be conscious about, is always leading us to a space of equanimity, balance, compassion, and truth.
Yeah.
And anything that is leading us to a disturbed state of mind is not really an inner voice, it's a demon or it's a negative pattern that is influencing and wanting to manifest.
Yeah.
Wow. And so we have, of course, everyone joining in with lots of love, Ma. And then we have Madhvi, who joins in from Washington. And she's saying that, oh my God, I am having this exact conflict. I have been a vegetarian since 2012. And now I have a sudden urge to eat egg. And there is a sudden craving for egg. But I am so conflicted whether to eat it or not.
Yeah. There's nothing wrong with eating egg. It's all divine food, and it's available. So whatever is your nurturing ability to nurture your body, and your body is telling you, you must listen.
And Madhvi and even Archana is saying that she also has the same conflict. I'm so amazed and happy that this is resonating with so many of you. That from my personal experience, that once you do eat it, you might find, like Ma said, that it's only those 5 eggs were written in your destiny, and once you eat them, then that desire, that
contract with the soul is over.
Yes.
And maybe you just take to even eating meat and all. There's no need to cultivate guilt.
Yes.
Because society and, some kind of people telling you that you're spiritually more empowered when you're vegetarian. I don't really see that. I see some very, very elevated masters in the universe who eat fish and meat, and their light shines through, and it is not impacted by what's happening in the physical body, because the physical body is born to complete karmic resonance with other souls, with plants, with leaves, with underground food nutrients, and what's growing in the nuts, and so wherever is your destiny, wherever is that almond that you have to eat, it's going to travel from that tree and come to your house. And you're going to pick those particular food groups that are nurturing you and nurturing your body, or even they're going to make you sick. Because I see a lot of souls that are anemical, and they will produce the food that will come to your house that has to make you sick. So it depends on how you're interacting with each of those foods. If you have them with astuteness and healing, then everything is good for your body.
I love that, Ma. And then we have Manju Auntie who's joining in. That does this calling work the same way about alcohol?
Yes, of course. Whichever company is producing the alcohol, that same company may be also selling medicines.
Pharmaceutical drugs, yes.
Yeah, for your liver detoxification, for your liver and all. So one side the company is feeding you the alcohol, and the other side is going to make you pay the money for buying the medicines, and maybe live to tell another story, or to die to get another body. It depends on how much of that resonance you have. It's the same way with cigarette companies, right?
Yes.
There are people who will puff, and then they get the liver cancer, and the same company owns the hospital where you check in to have life support and then you go to your heavenly abodes.
abode.
So it's all intertwined. It's not separate.
It's not separate. And
Your inner voice will always tell you. I have so many alcoholics who come to me and they say, during the day we are just so focused on we are not going to drink this evening. And then that time comes and we just instinctively pour the drink and we drink it. And because we know that our family is going to say stop, 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 so we do it on full speed.
Oh, like just overdose.
And then they overdose and they get drunk like in 5 minutes. So it's so much the typical behavior of not listening to the inner voice. The whole day they listen to the inner voice, but just at the time when they need the willpower, the strength and the courage to really listen to the voice, they've already fallen. They've already disappeared. Their courage, their conviction, the inner voice is so silent that the demoniac nature of compulsive behavior of addiction is manifest, and that's what they're listening to. Saying, let's drink it, nobody will know.
Correct.
You know, and that guilt makes you drink faster and gets you drunk immediately.
Wow.
And that's with all addictions. I have some people who have diabetes, and if you serve them anything and you tell them have a little bit, so they'll take some, hide it and hide behind the pillar and they'll eat up, thinking that if nobody sees me, my body is going to be, I can play deceit with my body and my body will not react to these 4 pieces of burfi that I ate behind the pillar. But the body is going to react to that sugar inflow.
Oh, okay.
So that's how it is. The inner voice is always talking, always listening, always collaborating, always affirming what is your true inherent nature of, collaborating with the universe around you.
So how do we create this, the way that I'm looking at the consciousness of being conscious of this inner voice is almost like a radio frequency, and we have to tune into this truth and tune out the negative or the unfriendly voice or the inimical voice. So how do we tune out the inimical voice and tune in the inner voice?
Actually, you have to be spiritually connected and be a healer. I can share a story that I read I don't know how many years ago, and it stays with me. And the story is about this student who is writing from his own experience, and he's saying that he's stuck in a valley or a forest where everything is a mirror.
Okay.
And he's walking through this forest, and the trees, the plants, the fruits, the bees, the butterflies, the animals, and the frog, the rabbit, the deer, everything is like a mirror. And everybody's showing him the mirror, or he believes that it's the mirror, and he's walking through and he's seeing only his reflection. And he's walking, and the mirrors are reflecting him in the mirrors, right? And then he becomes aware, hey, that was a little bit of a different thing. What's that? So he goes back to see that there are 3 mirrors that are not reflecting him. And he sees himself back in class 6.
Okay.
And one of the mirrors is reflecting his chemistry teacher that he really didn't like. The other is reflecting the girl he always admired in his class 6, his first tryst with falling in love or infatuation. And the third mirror is reflecting his best friend. So he says, how strange that these 3 people have come up in my consciousness. What is it? What is it? What is it? So he connects and watches that mirror where his chemistry teacher is being reflected, and then he realizes that he's become the chemistry teacher. And he can hear the inner voice of the chemistry teacher. And the chemistry teacher saying that he is so special that he reminds me of the son who's just died. And so many of the students who've come and gone through this realm of my classroom, I'm really attracted to him. And then he sees that he breaks the chemistry set apparatus that he's doing an experiment with. And the teacher's saying that, what should I do? I will have to scold him, even though I have so much affection for him. So he scolds him with the consciousness, the teacher's inner voice telling him that I have to do this so that he can learn and, he can be. But he's reflecting that the teacher's thinking out of compassion and love and trying to share the knowledge and how to be careful. But he's seeing it as the worst abuse that the teacher had impinged upon his consciousness, right? So he's very surprised that the teacher had a completely different inner voice going on in his heart to what he had to do as a teacher. And so he's saying, wow, he really loved me, and he was doing this to, to comfort, to teach me skill sets for the future. Then he comes out of that mirror and he goes into the mirror of this girl. And this girl is saying, oh my God, I really love him. But I'm so unlucky. At birth, my father died and my mother's poverty stricken. And I'm in this school because of charity. And now I've really started thinking about him, and look at the bad luck I'm bringing to him. That, he's broken the chemistry set apparatus, and now he's getting the scolding of his lifetime. And so I'm going to shrink away and not show him that I love him so much. So he's saying, oh my God, she really loved me, and she didn't come through to share that. And I always felt that I was jilted, but she was so kind. And then he comes out of that and he goes into his best friend's body. And the best friend is saying, how dare you? You're such an unwelcome spirit in my life that my mother is constantly scolding me and saying that your friend does so well in class. Now I have to teach him a lesson. Oh. And he's the one who had pushed him and cleverly tripped him that the apparatus had fallen and broken. And then he was saying, serves you right, see? I fixed you. And then he's saying that, my God, what we think and what our inner voice tells us and how we get attached to different souls, and we think of the vibrations and the frequencies of the sounds that they make. We think that that's the reality, but that's not the reality of the consciousness of the inner voice that they are carrying with themselves. So he comes back and he writes that everything was perfect except the betrayal of the friend.
Yes. So is the friend ourselves?
Yeah.
We are betraying ourselves?
Betraying ourselves.
Wow.
We are always trying to teach ourselves how to have a better skill set, how to interact with people better. And we are always in love with ourselves, but sometimes we feel that we are not worthy of that love, or we are hesitant, the friend, the lover is, that we are hesitant to really express that self-love, that self-compassion. So it's the three aspects of our inner self, right?
Yes, Mom.
So this is something that I used to think about it a lot, that the reality is that there is a minimum of three aspects of our inner voice that is constantly chattering. So which one do you really listen to? It's always the voice of the teacher, because the other is betraying and the other is hesitant.
Hesitant and fearful.
Yeah.
Or unsure and lack of confidence.
Yeah, so always take the difficult path and always scold yourself if you need to.
So how do we really do that? And I think just as Ma, you were sharing this amazing story with us, Gauri asks that, ma'am, I never listened to my inner voices earlier as I felt I'm overthinking, and all of them came true later. But now I listen to my inner voice. So what stops us, ma'am, from listening to our inner voice?
We're not confident and we're not really looking. See, there is a part of us that lives in the crown chakra consciousness, where we are in a space of pure light. And then we come to the third eye consciousness, where our intelligence, our wisdom, our understanding, our contemplation, our reflection, our ability to connect to information makes us act. And we act either with illumination, or we act with wisdom, or we act with ignorance. Because ignorance also lives in the third eye chakra, where we are shutting down everything and saying, no, it's all about me, 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 me. And then at the throat, we are illuminating our real purpose in this human body and connecting to what our heart is saying. So our heart is always speaking the truth, our mind is always overthinking. And I was sharing with Divya and some other healers only yesterday that when I look at all souls, they all have the same blueprint of divine impression. And 99% of whether you're a tree, whether you're a bean, whether you're a flower, whether you're a butterfly, whether you're a human being, 99% of that intelligence quotient is reprinted. And we have free will of 1%. And we contaminate that 99% of brilliance with that 1% of ignorance. And it's camouflaged our brilliance, our intuitive abilities, our willingness to listen to the inner voice. And everything is like so submerged in the murky waters of our false ego self that we think that we know the best. And whenever your voice is telling you that be inquisitive, find out what it is that you need to find out, then you'll be a brilliant, brilliant person. Because you'll be inquisitive, you'll be courageous, you are willing to learn, you're willing to change your behavior, you're willing to understand what it is, what's the information that's coming up. And anybody who's teaching you how to hate yourself and telling you that you're doing this wrong, don't listen to them.
That's really the magic statement, Ma. Mm-hmm. And I was just thinking about this inner voice and that we don't listen to the inner voice. Could it, would this be an appropriate example that, you could be on your phone in the middle of your workday and you're scrolling on YouTube or you're watching Instagram reels and there's an inner voice saying that, go back to work, you have an email and, you need to look at your work, but you delay it by 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes. And then it's 2 hours.
The dopamine is making you so addicted. And tranquilizing your intelligence and,
So that's the free will. We're exercising our free will to actually trap ourselves in ignorance
exactly.
And not really listen to that. So how can we jolt ourselves out in that moment?
What is just getting up with practice? Your phone and watching and walking away from that spot. Because there's a downflow frequency center in that chair or in that place. You have to be that addict.
Okay.
So if you want to move away from it, it's like even somebody who wants to get rid of the alcohol.
Yes,
then Alcohol Anonymous is that they have a fixed time meeting every evening where you have to report, so that you're away from that familiar space in your house where you're going to quickly download that alcoholic drink.
Right.
So they will support you and they say, come at exactly this time. Whatever time you really are reaching for the bottle, you have to reach the Alcohol Anonymous
meeting.
And they teach you how to not feel guilty.
Yes. So and not to hate yourself for the choices that you've already made, but to make better choices and new choices.
Yeah. So there you have to listen to the outer voice of your guide or whoever is your support.
The teacher, they become the teacher. The external teacher awakens the inner teacher voice.
Yeah.
That's amazing, Ma.
Yeah, and that's how you all flow through and change yourselves.
Yes. This is so exciting.
The inner voice is always silently whispering.
So is the inner voice talking 24/7 or only sometimes?
No, it's always present.
Always present.
Yeah, conscience is always present.
Ready for the conversation.
Yeah, even when you die and you take your rebirth, it's your man, your buddhi and your ahankar or the ego self or the false ego self with the mind and the intelligence.
So it's the intelligence is the inner voice.
Yeah.
Wow, it's the buddhi.
Whispering. Yeah, the buddhi.
So do we sometimes confuse the buddhi with the chitta, and we think that the chitta or the fire of the mind part of it, that we think the man is the inner voice, but actually it's the buddhi, the intelligence, that's the inner voice. Oh my God. I'm stunned.
So sweet.
That's like a complete reorientation.
Yeah,
and
always remember it's the heart, the throat, and the third eye that are always the stepping stone. And the stepping stone between the heart and the third eye is your throat, your actual conscious self that is connecting you to who you are in the body, right? Even at Reiki, when you say, I thank myself for being here, that is that undiluted spiritual essential self at the crown chakra. I thank Reiki for being here is at the third eye, that you're recognizing that there's this unconditional loving energy of the divine that's coming down through that undiluted essential spark of light. And then at the throat, you are affirming, I thank either Divya or Renu or Aradhana or Madhavi, right, for being here. So you're actualizing your impermanent self in the body in the state that you're going to heal. And then the healing heart is, you're affirming that Reiki in the heart, please make this soul, this body healed, whole and complete. So it is, thank you, that will be done. So that's how the essential, effervescent, spiritual, undiluted, supreme spark of light is always at the crown. So it's very, very important to understand this.
Yes, Mom.
That at the throat is the link between that supreme spark and unconditional love that is resting in the heart, that is going to love, to forgive, to eradicate all fear, all loneliness, all helplessness, all tragedy, all because it's only, all is impermanent in this body. It's never forever.
Never forever.
And you can change it in this instant by listening to your voice of
inner
the heart.
voice of the heart. The intelligent, which is whispering.
The bells are ringing. Wake up, wake up.
You make it sound so beautiful and attractive to go into our inner heart. I think some of us are fearful maybe to walk into that forest of the inner heart and seek
which is reflecting the mirrors, remember?
Mirrors. Yes.
The voice. So you can always see that we all have those mirrors that reflect people at us.
Yes.
That don't give us our supreme, pure, eternal self mirror reflection where we can say, okay, I love myself. So we'll all, at a minimum, if we do this meditation, after the Sunday Collective, if you just spend 5 minutes with yourself and you go through that forest or that valley or those mountains and you see the mirrors reflecting back at you, you'll come to know who are the people who have troubled you, and you can forgive them. And maybe they were really looking out for your interest and you thought that they were troublesome, like that boy found.
Yes.
And people that they trusted were actually the opposite.
The betrayers, yeah.
The betrayers.
Yeah, it's the closest to you that betray you because they have the maximum opportunity.
Vulnerable.
You're vulnerable to them.
Emotionally vulnerable to them, yeah.
Wow, what a journey we're going on today, Ma.
Yeah.
And we have Gauri who says, thank you so much for the guidance. Love you both. We love you too. Anukriti joins in and says, this was so much needed, Ma. Thank you. Then we have Kanav Bakshi, who's joining in from Canada. Yes, Ma.
So sweet. Lots of love, Beta. You're soon getting your job, so don't worry. I'm sending you special healing and blessings.
And then we have Rita Auntie who says, grateful for the guidance, Ma, about the scrolling and to move away from the spot where our addictive pattern is rooted. Because she says that I watch my phone a lot.
Oh my God.
Yes.
So go for a walk, stay healthy.
Yes.
And do some knitting, do something else that is repetitive, because your mind needs that repetitive, or chant or write Ram Ram Ram, or do something that is like going to release that feel-good hormone in your brain because you need it, and just tell yourself you deserve better.
Yes.
So
Yes.
that will be good.
Yeah, I deserve better. Sometimes we're even shy to say that. And then we have Simran, my beautiful Simran Sani, who asks a very pertinent question. And before I get to her question, we have Rajni Auntie, who asks that, Ma, is truth subjective or objective, or does it differ from person to person? As the guidance that you've given us today is that the inner voice is always centered in truth.
Yeah, so it's not subjective or objective. It is.
It just is.
Yeah. The voice is always speaking the sounds of the divine, because that is that supreme undiluted spark of Sat Chitanand, the truth in consciousness, and it's creating bliss. So when you are in bliss and harmony, then there's no judgment. There's complete freedom, surrender, and devotion to the divine. And you are obeying.
I think anything that can be argued as subjective or objective is actually illusion. It's not truth.
And your false ego playing games with you.
Yes, Ma. So then we come to Simran's question. She says, Ma, how do we hone our skills to listen to our inner voice? One, of course, Ma has answered with this beautiful meditation of the going into the heart of our forest, or the forest of the heart.
Forest of the heart and the valley
and the mirrors and the valleys and the mountains. And then in our conscious self,
we can do something good for somebody else. It's as simple as leaving a few grains for the birds, or putting a pot of water out, or feeding a hungry soul. Like always nurturing the world outside and appreciating. And I said in today's meditation in the morning in the Let's Heal that it's about compassion and unconditional love, not how will you become deserving of that unconditional love and get that warm hug from the universe around you, is by actually stepping out and sharing with others. Because we're always so concerned about my child, my daughter, my son, my home, my husband, my mother, my mother-in-law. The reality is that you have to really be blissfully engaged in doing service.
Yes.
There's that thing about service before self and devotion and doing it for recognizing the spiritual undiluted spark of the divine in another soul. Yes. So that soul can be anyone. It can be, even the bees and that the flowers are growing for. Their relationship is eternal, right?
Yes, Mom.
So the same way you also have to be that flower from which the bee can come and suck the honey. So when you will get that veil of illusion of Mahadan will be complete, then you will be very blissfully engaged in listening to yourself and spontaneously doing things for others.
And is it in that process of giving we are emptying our false ego
and our ignorance,
and so then we can really be in that mode of silence, of actually being able to hear the whispers of the inner voice?
Actually. And even when I look at the aura of a flower in which a bee is sucking the honey, right?
Yes, Mom.
So it also has an aura, the flower, and sometimes the flower is really needing more light of the sun to display its vibrant colors or unfold the next petals to look more beautiful. And when the honeybee comes and sucks the honey and makes those little portals of infiltration through which the sunlight can go deep into the leaves of the plant to do the photosynthesis and to give more energy to the and for that flower to become a fruit, there is a huge exchange. It's not independent. Everything is not just, like happening irrespective. The whole universe is collaborating. The breeze is billowing and taking those colors, from the flower and distributing them to other people in the vicinity. And, the other night I was coming back, we had gone out for dinner and I was coming back. And when we were driving in, I saw these beautiful white roses that were in the bushes, and I could not see the leaves, and the moon's light was just shining on those, these white roses, and I was just thinking, how resplendent is that light? And the minute we got out of the car, we had somebody, having an alignment of new energy coming in. And I could see all that white light and the moon's light, and, for the mental equilibrium of that soul to come to a state of complete balance. It happened right there, and they kept saying, is that an earthquake? And we kept saying, no, there is no earthquake. But they were quivering with the impulse of the light that was coming in to center them in a state of complete wellness.
Yes.
So I was just amazed at how those roses and the moon's light and that drive in was creating a portal of energy. And that was being delivered to the soul in that perfect moment, in that space, in that point of confluence. And so it happens to all of us. We need to be ready for it. And then the heart will sing. And what will it sing? I am grateful.
And I deserve better.
And I got better.
And I got better.
And I got everything I need. In the now.
In the now.
And it'll be forever and ever.
True.
True.
That is the truth.
Highest truth.
Highest truth. Oh, wow. And so we have a lot of love flowing from Ma to all of you, and all of you to Ma and me.
Yeah, my biggest energy that I'm sending out is the twinkling diamond, brilliant white light that's coming from the moon, and it's coming as that drop of nectar from the moon's light that's going to restore you to a state of bliss and freedom from depression, anxiety, fear, and helplessness.
So very, very grateful, Ma.
Yeah.
And we have Jayati who says, Ma'am, very grateful for your grace and your presence that leads us through all the forests and the valleys. Always, always, you are illuminating our path and the path. And Simran says, wow, Ma, she's just, I think, connecting and riding the wave of this knowledge.
Remember that from the mirrors also comes the same white diamond light.
Yes, yes, yes.
To reflect it back at you people, multiplied thousands and millions of times.
And then we have Sharmila Auntie, Sharmila Dhar, who joins in and expressing her gratitude, Ma, that
God
you
bless.
healed her and that she's much better and she's completely well now. And then we have Neha and Fifi who are sending their hugs and love.
Nice hug you back.
And we have Aisha Marden, Anahita, Aruna, Jasleen, Shibani Singh Verma. Yes, they're all love, love, love. And of course, Megha and many, many others who are just sharing this cosmic space with us, including Ashwini Bhaiya and Sonali Didi.
Love
And
you
Purti
all.
and so many, many more. So love you all.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we'll take one more question
Before we end today's beautiful session. So yes, I'm scrolling up. I think there's a sharing that I think is very beautiful. So Arpita says, Pranam Guruma. She says it is beautiful how our questions sometimes get answered even without us asking one, resonating with the questions asked by others and learning from the guidance that you are giving us, Ma.
True. It's so well said.
Yes.
I love you, beta. Stay well and stay healthy.
Absolutely. So then we have Gauri who asks another very interesting and important question. She says that, so ma'am, does it mean our intelligence is not awakened when we are not listening to our inner voice? I can so much relate to this as I now remember your words of guidance for me earlier.
Yeah.
So how is that?
Intelligence is actually sleeping on this beautiful bed of the false ego, and the false ego is saying, go to sleep, go to sleep, go to sleep, and it's patting, and it's going deep to the reservoirs of our Kundalini chakra, where our blueprint of, remember that 99% of intelligence, that is like the divine imprint, is given to us at birth, and that 1% of that man buddhi, ahankar, and that false ego rises, and we say that we deserve better, we should get better, we know better, we have better, and everything is better. And then when we find other people having better than us, then we say, how dare they have better than us? And remember that betrayal, it's the people who love you the most who betray you and who will keep telling you that, this is how you have to validate. You are validated by either somebody telling you that you're very good, so your false ego is growing, or they're telling you you're very bad and your confidence is dissipating. So you have to listen to the voice of your heart where you are resurrecting your appropriate behavior and you are cultivating compassion for every soul that comes into your domain. And you look at everyone with respect, and with more respect. And that's intelligence. If you can be grateful and respectful at the same time to yourself and to the world around you, then you're free from your karmic bindings and your disrespect. Nobody will disrespect you because you respect yourself. And you don't need validation from the outside world because the divine has given you all the respect, given you this beautiful body to live in and to complete your journey. So you're grateful for that and you're devoted to sharing.
So then, Ma, I have a question. That when there is this beautiful conversation with the inner voice that is occurring and we're completely awakened with intelligence and we're listening and we're acting and we're in harmony, in service, in balance, in love, what is that 1% of the free will corruption that penetrates that consciousness, and how do we protect ourselves from that?
That one thing that penetrates this consciousness is our addiction to wanting to play God.
Okay.
So when we are surrendered, we are actually surrendering that there is a supreme force up there and we have to be in service. So when we are in service, we are very grateful for the opportunity, we are doing our work and we are not complaining. So the minute we start complaining and we say that we are superior, that's the downfall and that's the addiction.
Yes, Mom.
So, I was reading, I think someone had said that there's a very interesting story about Ravi Kishan. He's an actor who was approached to act in Gangs of Wasseypur.
Okay.
And he said that he had gone through a very arrogant phase, and when the director of that movie had wanted to give him a role, he had said that he had this thing that he used to bathe in milk and he wanted to sleep on rose petals and all. So they had said that why will we hire him and waste 20 kgs of milk every day to bathe in. And so he had not been given the role. And he says that that's one of his biggest regrets. But he was new to acting and new to Bollywood, and he was just pretending, and everybody around him, his entourage, was telling him that he's so great, and all these famous actors used to also bathe in milk, and so he should also be bathing in milk. And so he said that he lost out on such a great movie to be a part of it. And so in that reflection, I was looking at his white milk and the red rose petals. And I was looking at that how the white milk is actually the energy of your crown chakra coupled with your navel. So the navel is also white, and the brilliant diamond light in your crown chakra is actually resurrecting intelligence and silence, where you can have conversations with the divine. And that pink rose petal or that red is at the root and the heart. So when your navel and crown are the two pivotal portals of ascension into the material body, right? Because in the womb, your mother is feeding you through your navel, the umbilical cord. And when you take your first breath, the divine umbilical cord of your antakaran, that final cause of all causes, that light, is actually the suction cup at the top of your head that is giving you the energy of survival and life force that you will need in this life. And in the material universe, it's your root chakra that establishes you, and it's your unconditional love at the heart that nurtures you to bring that silence and that conversation with the divine. So I was thinking about that story I was reading, and I think it was yesterday or day before. And I was smiling. And I was thinking, even he doesn't know.
Yes. That what is happening and what was his destiny unfolding.
Yeah.
Or what
And that from
Sorry, Ma, we just had a little bit of internet flux and delay, but we're back.
Okay,
so
wonderful.
Yes, Ma.
So the mother and father should be respected, and we should all be respectful to each other and listen to the solitude of our inner self in conversation with the divine.
With the divine. Lovely. And so, Ma'am, one final question, healing question. We have Charu who's joining in. She says, Pranam, Ma.
Love you, Mita.
She asks that when deep healing takes place and we participate with that healing, yet sometimes the same situations in our life and with ourselves and with our loved ones, or it could be professionally or in society, those same situations present themselves multiple times, like almost like a Groundhog Day repeating itself.
Yeah, it's like the alcoholic every evening. It's exactly 7:35. Opens the bottle, pours the drink, and drinks it. It's out of a repeated pattern in your blueprint.
So she asked that these situations that are these, like Ma, you're saying, repeated patterns in our blueprint, that they are manifesting again and again, sometimes in a new avatar, she says. What is the guidance? Is it that the healing we are sending is incomplete? Or is it a new aspect every time?
It's a new aspect every time that needs more healing, and you have to walk away from it. Sometimes you have to walk away from relationships that are toxic.
Yes,
and it doesn't mean physically walking away, but emotionally disconnecting those cords. So I always say that connect to the golden scissors of the healing light, and always 3 times cut. Why the 3 times? Because there'll be the betrayal, there'll be the loving self that has been isolated and put into jail, and then there's the real self that is always scolding and always feeling insecure and unwanted and unloved. So you have to open the door to that loving unconditional self in the heart, and at the throat acknowledge that I am intelligence and I will live with more worthiness for myself, and nobody can respect me as much as I can respect myself. And where does that essence of respect come? Is how much respect I have for the divine. So cultivate that, and that comes with gratefulness and speaking the truth, being conscious and always happy in whatever avatar. Even people who are very, very terminally ill, I always tell them, just be happy because you are with the divine, and the divine is taking care of you, and they go peacefully.
Yes, Mom.
So I love you all.
She says grateful for the guidance, and I think we all echo that statement and sentiment. Grateful for the guidance. Truly.
Stay well, see the mirrors, and always know that you are loved.
We love you, Ma.
Love you. Bye.